Black Panther. I've been reading about it all weekend. I saw it. I'm sure most of you have. And I just want to capture a few thoughts before I go back into the real world of work. It was just wonderful to see. And let me just say, people were really on their moisturizing game. I wonder if some people had to be on a regimen for a little bit before the movie, because not everyone is on their moisturizing game. So anyway, I have a few thoughts that I want to share. One about racial ideology, which is like the way that we think about Black people and how they should be in society, and then also about gender identity. This first video is going to talk about racial ideology, and then check out the next one that'll talk more about gender identity. And if you want more discussion and conversation about Black Panther and Wakanda, check out a page called Wakanda Discussion You Want, that was started by a friend of mine, Rakita. Thanks, shout out for helping me have a place to play this weekend. So Wakanda, there's so much about it that I want to share. But one, I want to talk about racial ideology, and then I'll have another video on gender identity in the movie. So this first video is going to be focused on racial ideology, which basically is how you think Black people should be in society. So any race can have an ideology, but in terms of Black racial identity theory, it is thought that there are different types of ideologies. So you have ideas and beliefs about how Black people should behave. And of course, there are tons of different ideologies, but there are 4 that we measure in psychology. So Sellers and his crew developed a measure, and there's assimilationist ideology, which is you think Black people should get along with mainstream society and white society. There's the humanist ideology, where you just think everyone is human and individual and we shouldn't focus on race. There's oppressed minority, where you think we as Black people should interact and connect with other oppressed groups. And then there's nationalist ideology. And that ideology is where you believe that Black people should have their own institutions and build their own institutions. And in reality, no one is all one or the other. And like I mentioned, those are only the few that we have measurement for. But what I thought was so interesting about Black Panther was that it does a beautiful job of showing different ideologies and showing different ways that people believe Black people should behave in society. And so we have T'Challa, who is a nationalist because he's trying to protect Wakanda, right? And he believes that they should have their own and should be protected. And then we have Eric Killmonger, who also is a nationalist in the sense that he believes that Black people should be able to build their own and have their own, but being from the United States and a Black American, white supremacy is this kind of oppressive system, right? And so he's not able to achieve that. And so I was thinking about how in some ways it's unfortunate the way the film ends, because it makes us choose between these two ideas of liberation, of Black nationalism, because in a way, why couldn't we see how we could reconcile not T'Challa's idea of protecting Wakanda, but also Killmonger's idea of liberating people who've been systematically oppressed, right? So one of the ideas that I had, or one of the lessons, is that maybe what something we can take from this is that Killmonger's idea of liberation, in a way, almost has to include violence because he's in this oppressed system. And Wakanda has not been oppressed in the same way. So T'Challa, in a way, is like privileged to have this idea that he could protect and not have to consider what it means to build one's own inside of oppression, right? And so what would have been beautiful is if we could have seen those two ideas of Black liberation and Black nationalism find a way to coexist. And who knows, given that it's a superhero movie, we might still be able to have him come back to life. I know in the comics that's the case, but I just wanted to share a little bit about how I think the film pushes us to think about ideology, allowing people to have their different ways of going about interacting in the world, how they believe Black people should interact in the world. And there's a really beautiful way in which Lupita's character gives another vision of how Black people should be that's similar and related, right? Like she believes that we should not only see the privilege that we have, but find a way to share it with the world, and in a way that wins out at the end. So if you want to hear more about what I think about the women in the film and how the vision of seeing gender not as a dichotomy, but as something that can be complementary, check out the next video.